Now, the first part of today's podcast is we're going to be talking about Paul Pogba. Now, recent days, the developments have been that, we're getting closer and closer to signing Paul Pogba. Now, there's been Instagram stories from Paul Pogba's side just saying tic-tac, obviously famous from Josep Pedrerol for the Mbappe saga this summer. But, there's been developments in the boardroom where basically we've just been continuing to generate interest on Paul Pogba, and now it's getting closer and closer. But to me, this just seems like a bit of a silly move because personally, I just don't think Paul Pogba can fit at Real Madrid. I can see it fitting if we play to his strength, but at this point in his career where he's shown inconsistencies for 5 years now, he's been at Man United for 5 years and none of the seasons you could say have been convincing from Paul Pogba. And I think realistically, I personally don't think it's a great move. What do you think? Do you think it would be a good move before we discuss maybe some of the reasons for signing Paul Pogba? Or do you think against signing Paul Pogba?
Yeah, like you said before, we got into that because there could be a lot of positives in signing Pogba. But like you said, when you sign Pogba, you have to play to his strengths. I think if you sign Pogba, there are some benefits that there are some negatives. I think Pogba actually has a lot of qualities that can actually contribute to Real Madrid. I think sometimes when Toni Kroos isn't playing, I think sometimes the team lacks a bit of passing from deep, etc. So I think he can definitely help with that. So I think that's maybe what they're thinking long term, that Pogba can be like a long term replacement for Toni Kroos in terms of his passing. But in terms of the rumors for Pogba, I mean, he's been a bit inconsistent at Manchester United, and maybe Real Madrid is thinking because he plays so well for France and he's so consistent and he works so hard for the French national team, that maybe he can contribute like that to Real Madrid, because maybe Real Madrid is a step up to Manchester United in Pogba's eyes. Well, I'm sure that's what he's thinking. And he would definitely work hard in the midfield, just like he does for the French national team. So do you think maybe that's why Madrid are thinking that he plays so well for France that we can sign him and he can have that similar impact?
Real Madrid have obviously seen Paul Pogba's abilities at Juventus. He was one of, if not the best midfielder in the world at that time. Obviously there were great midfielders at that time, such as Iniesta, Kroos, Modric, but he was up there with some of them. And as you said, when Toni Kroos is not playing, we lack the passing from deep, and we lack that the range of passing that other midfielders cannot give. Valverde, as great as he is, with it physically, he's just not technically as brilliant as Toni Kroos or Paul Pogba. Camavinga, he could be that eventually, but we can't really count on it just yet. He's too young to say for sure. And with Blanco, we haven't got enough of a sample size to say with Blanco. So yeah, I think Paul Pogba in that sense would be amazing. But back to the France point, yeah, he obviously plays brilliantly with France, but that's with a player like N'Golo Kante next to him, or Aurélien Tchouameni. That's the problem though. If we don't get a player like Kante next to him, he ends up having to do more defensive work, and that's just not where Pogba thrives. And I think we've seen that with Man United with playing behind Pogba. You've had McTominay and Fred, which is just not good enough when you're playing with Pogba, and thus Pogba's been dropped because he's not putting in the performances, because he's been asked to put in defensive contribution. And I think that's been the problem over the 5 years. He's just been inconsistent due to the players that have been around him. But if you sign Pogba, do you really want his success being dependent on other players? I personally don't want that. And I think in terms of midfielders, binning Casemiro, but if that's not good enough, I don't think it's it's a good shout, because I don't think Paul Pogba's worth it, for that. And, as we'll talk about later, for the money we're going to be paying for him, all of that, those factors, I just don't think he's the right fit. But before we get onto the negatives, let's start with the positives. And I think one of the big positives with Paul Pogba is that he is a world star. His reputation is one of the highest in the game. And I think, in terms of actual reputation and, the revenue he'll bring in, he's only behind the likes of Messi and Ronaldo. So, what other positives can you see from signing Paul Pogba?
Yeah, like you said, he is definitely one of the most important players in world football. I think if you look at the social media, he is maybe top five in terms of followed players. I'm not too sure about that, but I think that's what I saw. Maybe last year. I'm not too sure. I'll have to do some more research on that. But I do think that if you sign Pogba, I genuinely believe that he can link up well with the attackers and get the best out of Vinicius, of Benzema, of Mbappe when he signs. I think, yeah, I think because if he passes so well, and we have a lot of fast attackers and a lot of players who can jump into spaces, I think that Pogba can pick a pass as well. If Benzema jumps deep to receive the ball, Pogba can pick him out to the space. If Mbappe or Vinicius stands behind, I think he can definitely pick a pass to them. So I think that's definitely one of the main reasons that why Madrid signed Pogba, why Madrid will want to sign Pogba. I do apologize for that. Because if you look at the goal that Vinicius scored against Liverpool, the ball from Toni Kroos over the defense, I think that's something Pogba can do. And if you have Mbappe and Vinicius and Rodrigo, I think players like Pogba can definitely get the best out of them in playing the passes where they need it. So I think that's definitely a positive that Pogba can bring to the team. And I also think that with Manchester United, if you look at the midfield, their midfield, and you look at our midfield, it's clear that we have players who can definitely help Pogba, because he's a player, like you said, who can play well with Kante, etc., Matuidi, when Matuidi was in the national team. I think Valverde, Camavinga, Casemiro, even Luka Modric, um, even though Modric may leave shortly because he's 36 now. I think we have the players who can definitely help Pogba, and Madrid are not going to have players like McTominay and Fred. McTominay is a good player. I think they're good players in my opinion, but they don't suit Pogba like the players in Madrid might. So I think Madrid are looking at it and be like, we have the players um, for Pogba to succeed, and I think he can also contribute well, like I said, in getting the best out of our quick attackers and even Benzema.
Yeah, so let's get into the negatives, and in my opinion, there are so many. I mean, let's start with the current negative, and that's his injury. He's already picked up an injury, and it's been a theme of Paul Pogba that he picks up one big injury per season where he misses 10 to 15 games, which is it's not reassuring whatsoever. And if you want a player to be consistent, that's Toni Kroos epitomized. If you want Paul Pogba to replace Toni Kroos, the one thing you need is consistency, and you can't really count on Paul Pogba to be completely consistent. So that's one thing. Next, I mean, financially, we don't need to talk about this. Who's his agent? Mina Raiola. So I mean, that's enough you need to hear already. I mean, 500k per week is probably what he's going to ask for, which is, it counts to 26 mil per season, and that's ultimately very, very high amounts of money to be given on a player who's a bit of a risk. And we're talking about Mino Raiola, so there's going to be a massive signing bonus and a massive agent fee. It could amount to something like 50 million up there straight away. It's just all that for a free agent. That's very risky. It's not exactly a guarantee. And if he's inconsistent, what happens then? I mean, this is just, it's way riskier. It's sure the positives are massive. If we get a really good Paul Pogba, we could get one of the best midfielders in the world. However, if we don't, we could be financially crippled for the next 4 or 5 years, when that's probably the contract he's going to get at age 28. So what do you think on the financial issues with Paul Pogba?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there perfectly, because there will be maybe a big signing on fee and a high salary, and I think you're going to have to be paying a lot of that to Mbappe, and maybe to Haaland if he signs. I don't think Haaland might sign, if I'm being honest, but maybe to Mbappe, and then you have to renew Vinicius' contract shortly, and he is going to be one of the highest paid players in the team. So I think the financial side is huge, because Fede Valverde and Camavinga, Pogba will sign, and definitely have maybe twice or three times the amount that they make, which maybe isn't good for the team morale. However, the difference between him and Mbappe is because Mbappe is likely to be the star of the team. And I think Real Madrid know that's how Real Madrid players know that's exactly how it works, because Cristiano played with the team previously, and the amount of money he made, it's quite different, to what maybe Modric would make, what Carvajal would make, and Madrid know that Madrid players know if Mbappe is signed, he's going to be the star of the team. He has done so well in the past. I don't think Pogba is in that level, in that class, so I think some Madrid players may not be too happy about it. There may be similar reports where we saw that Rafael Varane wasn't happy that Real Madrid wasn't offering him the amount that Alaba would have made. So I think there will be similar issues like that. I think that's definitely a key issue as well. And like you said, the injuries. I think with the injuries, it is as bad as maybe an Eden Hazard or Bale level. However, it's still concerning for someone who's going to make that much if he signs. So maybe I think we spoke about this previously with Camavinga, when I think last year I asked you, or you asked, I'm not too sure, but we both agreed that Camavinga would have been a better signing than Pogba. I think you may remember that we have Camavinga, so I think maybe we should develop him, and that maybe he will be receiving more first-team football. But I think the issue is why we are signing Pogba is that Real Madrid know that Modric and Kroos will leave shortly, and they need a midfielder to replace them, and maybe Pogba is the best option right now, because there won't be any signing fee compared to if you want to sign a player like Tillemans, or maybe I think Tillemans have been linked, Goretzka have been linked, but Tillemans may be one of the best signings to replace Modric and Kroos, and Leicester may demand a lot from him. So I think if you sign Pogba, I think that's good. I think that would be a good signing in my opinion.
I mean, with Tielemans, he's got his contract's running out in 2023, so I don't think Leicester can demand a lot from him. But back to Pogba, I was about to talk about Camavinga's development, and that is definitely going to be harmed, like you said, if Pogba comes in, because you can't bench a player who's earning 500k per week. It's just not on, and it could block it's definitely going to block Blancos' development as well. And Valverde maybe less so because he plays on the other side of the midfield, but the principle's still the same, and that Pogba's going to earn a lot more than the rest of the team. And is that really justified, a player coming in? Modric might look at that and say, "Hey, I've put in much better performances to Paul Pogba than the last 5 years. Why am I earning a lot less?" You could say the same about Kroos. You could say the same about Valverde. And this may cause a bit of rift in the team, and I think that's got to be notified. And this is all going to be problems for Carlo to deal with. And we all know that Carlo's a brilliant manager, and he may be able to deal with these type of things. But that's going to be a very concerning thing for Real Madrid. If he comes in, and I think surely the priority's got to be to develop Camavinga, because we've got a talent there who's probably, I might be risking it saying he's a generational talent, but he could, he could be. And I think you can't waste someone like that, especially if, you're going to bring in a guy who's 500k per week. I just cannot imagine that amount of money given to a guy, who might be injured for half the season. So, he's going to miss half the season for Man United already. And, it's only been, so we're only in November. And that's, for Man United, that's really concerning. And I think that really we shouldn't give him the contract. So, what is your end verdict on this Paul Pogba deal, and do you think Real Madrid should give him the contract?
My end verdict is that on the field, Pogba can contribute a lot to this team. Of course, off the field, there will be a lot of negatives. However, like you said, the injuries, the money, etc. However, the biggest issue, the biggest problem, or the biggest takeaway, I would say, is that when you sign Pogba, there's a lot of uncertainties. You have to see it to understand. You have to see it to see what he can contribute to the team, to see if he will be a good signing or not. I think that is, in my opinion, the biggest doubt. You have to see it and wait to see what Pogba does at Madrid. I don't think that there's enough space to do something like that. I think at Madrid, you have to definitely come in and hit the ground running and know exactly what you're going to get. So, especially for a player like Pogba, who is expected to contribute, it's not like, he is 20 years old. He maybe will be 28 when he signs. And he should definitely, you can't expect a player who's 28 to need time to settle in. He definitely has to come in at the level. And with Pogba, you're not too sure if he's going to do that. So I think with the uncertainties and what he's going to come with, that's the biggest issue in my opinion. So that's maybe my doubt in signing him as well.
Yeah, I mean, just before we wrap this up, we haven't even talked about how Pogba's literally a media magnet, and he will just bring controversy everywhere he goes. We've seen when he comes to England, with his haircuts, and Graham Souness, just losing his head every time Pogba puts in a bad performance. Roy Keane, every single person, they hate him in the media for some reason. I mean, I don't understand it. What's the problem with him getting a new haircut every week? I don't understand that, but he will attract the media if he goes to Real Madrid, and especially with that wage, one bad performance and the media will be straight on his back, and that can be very damning, especially as a player, getting that media on your back straight away. It's just not what you want, and I think that will happen to him at Real Madrid if he comes in. So yeah, that's the end of this section of the podcast. Let's get straight into the next part of the podcast, which is probably, one of the most concerning parts, of Real Madrid in a long time, really. So, yeah, let's join us after this short interval. Okay, so probably one of the darkest days in football has occurred on Thursday night, and I saw this when I hopped on Twitter. I saw this random dude called Romain Molina asking to join his space. I thought nothing of it. I didn't join it. I didn't know who he was, to be perfectly honest. So, I went to sleep. Woke up next morning and saw the whole of Twitter just blew up. It was just crazy. I just didn't understand what was happening. I went on, trending, saw what happened, and it was so shocking to see all of this stuff that had happened in the football world. Just in one day, in a 2 hour space, all of this had happened. I mean, the multiple reports that had happened. It was distressing, really. I mean, it was all just, it felt surreal that one journalist could cause so much controversy. And I just felt like, why was this information kept out of the public? And I think, even today, we still haven't heard anything about from the big media giants, such as the BBC, maybe some of the French, sort of French newspapers, such as like L'Equipe, RMC Sport. We still haven't heard nothing about this space, and the amount of stuff we saw on it, we saw so much, from this guy Romain Molina. It was really, really shocking. I mean, going into it, I mean, what did you make of it as soon as you saw every single one of the reports before we get into the actual reports?
Obviously, yeah, it's a bit concerning, especially for Madrid, for the player, for everyone involved, because these are serious accusations. I think definitely, we've seen this before, where footballers are accused of these incidents. However, I don't think it's ever happened to Real Madrid. As far as I can remember, um, one of the latest one I could remember was maybe the Cristiano Ronaldo one, but he left Juventus at that time. So it's the first time I think I'm seeing it for a Real Madrid player, and it's a bit concerning. Of course, like you said, what's a bit better is that there are not much media outlets reporting the incident at this time. It's only one at this time, and maybe others are just quoting it, not like making any reports. So I think that's because there's not much evidence of it at this time, which is good. If it's not true, that's good. However, if it is true that there's a lot of accusations that should be taken seriously, in terms of a personal and emotional matter for the parties involved. Um, I think it's a bit concerning, and I think the best thing that everyone should do before we make assumptions is that we have to wait and see what happens, because I mean at this time only one journalist has made that report, and it's difficult to judge individuals at this time over one report. I think that we have to be patient to fully understand the situation, to fully understand what happens. So far, Mendy is yet to comment on the issue publicly at this time. No, I don't think Madrid have either. So we'd have to wait and see what's going on to understand the situation.
I mean, the space itself was it was very popular. We had big celebrities in it, big footballers. Even the official Marseille account was in it. So, players like Jeremy Doku, Dimitri Payet, and even, I saw The Rock at one point as well on Twitter. That these people were all in that space, and I think the accusations made towards Mendy from Romain Molina was that he allegedly kicked a woman in the head, caused her brain damage, and then showed her his genitals. I mean, these are pretty insane circumstances, and I mean, it's really shocking. Really, I mean, and then after that, even what happened with Leon, they covered it up. They, paid a lot of people to keep this story quiet, and then allegedly, of course, and they just covered it up so that they could sell him to Real Madrid. Real Madrid completely unsuspecting of this thing, and apparently his family has cut ties with him completely since the incidents, which is it's shocking, really, isn't it? I mean, these are insane accusations, and something that can't be taken lightly whatsoever. The other accusations taken it as well. We're talking about RAP. I can't say it for the video being restricted, and paedophilia, all this stuff just coming up at once. It's kind of it's weird. I mean, it's shocking. It's weird. It's distressing. I mean, all of this. But back to Ferland Mendy, I don't want to see him in the Real Madrid starting 11 until more reports are heard about them, and further news, further developments are received about this issue, because it's not a good look for Real Madrid to have him in the starting 11, but he needs to clear his head. You can't have him in the starting 11, and this is so far just a report. We don't know anything further. But until we get further developments, he cannot play for Real Madrid. I don't want to see him in the starting 11 until then. He wasn't in the training on Friday, which it's just it was easy to assume that, and I don't think he should play against Granada, as we'll get on later. I don't think he should play against Granada. I don't think he should play against Sheriff. I don't think he should play next week either. I don't think he should play for the next couple of weeks because I don't think it's right for him to play. I don't think it's as a human, it's not right to play him at all. We're talking about stuff, and so what I want to ask to you, if these reports are true, say like in a couple of weeks' time, we find out these reports are true. What do we do what do we do with Mendy? Do we punish him? What do we do? Like I'm at crossroad here.
Okay, well, that's honestly one of the most technical questions out there at the moment. If you're asking anyone related to Real Madrid, of course, the incidents happened before he signed for Real Madrid in 2018. However, that doesn't change the seriousness of the matter. That doesn't change what happened, because it's not something minor. It's something that people could actually go to jail for. Actually, in certain countries, I'm not too sure exactly um, what might happen. I'm not too sure if the situation gets escalated, and maybe if it goes to court, he may have to pay a settlement or something like that. So it's difficult for Real Madrid, because if the situation is true and it gets escalated a lot, I think that not many teams will be interested, in my opinion, because, for example, if you look at Benjamin Mendy right now, what's happening to him, maybe you guys can do some research on that. If you look at what's happening to Benjamin Mendy, I don't think any team would touch him after maybe, even if he's innocent, maybe if he gets cleared, etc. I don't think many teams will touch him. After that, I think the Benjamin Mendy accusations are far more serious than the Phil and Mendy one. But of course, it's a human nature, and the aspect of it, they cause hurt to human beings, and emotionally, physically. I think that many teams would be happy to sign a player like that. It's not a good look for the team. So I think that's one of the first and major issues. I think another issue, in my opinion, is that if you look at if you remember the Cristiano incident in 2018 when all the allegations came out, I think he still played. Well, not I think he still played for Juventus the week after, and that's because even though it's a very sensitive matter, I think if you look at the two sides, we don't know if it is true at this time. So maybe it's difficult to, maybe judge him off of that, even though if it's something he's guilty of, he definitely should be punished for it, as much as we like him as a footballer. It's the human side you have to look at that's more important, like on the whole. So maybe I think you always have to say maybe innocent until proven guilty, etc. Maybe he should play. However, if it's a whole circus around it, then maybe he shouldn't play. I think you honestly have to be really careful how Madrid handles this, because if it is true, like you said, you definitely have to take your precautions and wait a bit, and not play him like you said. But maybe we don't know much about the situation to make a full analysis on it. I think that's something, like I said before, we have to be patient, or we have to wait to see what's going on, because it's definitely a technical situation. And it's far more than just playing him or not playing him. I think that's something for the Madrid captains to discuss. If the team would be, how the team would feel, hearing these allegations, because I think that was something that was spoken about. I don't think anyone ever mentioned that. How is the team, how is the squad feeling about it? Because that can definitely, lower the squad morale. Because I mean, I don't know, but if for example, in my local team, if I hear something about that from my teammates, I don't know how I would feel. Communicating fully with that person, building, a friendship with that person. If something like that happens in any team that I play for, even if it's not at the level of Real Madrid or any professional level, it's definitely going to be difficult building a connection and a relationship with that person. So definitely there's so many factors out there that you can look at. And I'm not too sure exactly what to make of it. But there are so many factors that you have to consider before an entire decision is made. But before I close, it's a very serious matter that has a lot of consequences. However, I think we also have to, not judge the situation too much, because personally, in my opinion, I haven't seen much, it's just quotes at this time, and if true, then yes, there should be consequences, but at this time I'm not too sure exactly if it is true or not to make a decision on that.
I mean, if he is found true, we have to start talking about contract termination and stuff like that. But in terms of Romain Molina himself, he's a very reliable journalist, and in France he's very respected. These people are, they're listening. We've got thousands of people in that space. Many celebrities, many famous footballers. Maybe Marseille's official account. He's obviously a very famous guy, and in the past he's uncovered crimes within football, and I think this could be genuinely true, because it was one of his biggest claims. The tweet Ferland Mendy put out, where he's condemning the reports with the Benjamin Mendy's cases, is 6 RAP cases, and he's saying that you shouldn't be putting our faces. It's racism. You shouldn't do this. And then Romain Molina comes out, quotes the tweet, and says, it's almost like it likes kicking a woman in the head and causing her severe brain damage. So it's clearly one of his biggest claims, and I think he's standing by it, and I don't think he's backing down from it. It might genuinely be true, and I think ultimately it's difficult, because Real Madrid have never had to deal with a situation like this. But I think we have to be talking about contract termination if it is completely true, because it's not a good look for Real Madrid to keep a player like that, and I don't think we should be keeping a player like that, despite his footballing ability. So, I mean, more on this, we will be talking about this more, in the coming weeks, on the podcast. Maybe more reports coming out, but that's all we can really say about it for today. So, have you got anything else to say about this before we move on to our Granada preview?
I think we basically touched on all the points and everything, because there's not much more we have to discuss, because there's not much information out there. So I think maybe later on, maybe by next month, or in the few upcoming weeks, we can see we can have more information. The impact on the squad, etc. The quotes from Ancelotti in the media. I'm sure he's gonna have some questions about that sometime. So we'll have to wait and see when more reports come out, on more questions and answers in the media, and how the team reacts to them. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, okay, so let's get on to our next part of the podcast. Join us after this short interval. Okay, for the last part of today's podcast, we will be talking about Granada and the preview for the game today at 3:15. Now, hopefully I can get this podcast out before then. It'll be a bit of a challenge. I've got things to do today, but let's try and get this out. So Granada themselves, they're quite a defensive team, and we're talking about a team that are quite pragmatic and look to hit you on the counter. We've got old players, all over that team, and we've got an experienced 11 to play against. So let's get into the starting 11s. Goalkeeper Courtois.
Yeah, for sure. I think you have to set Courtois and goal. He's the number one. And I don't think there's any logical reason to not play Courtois this time.
Yeah, okay, so let's move on. And right back, I assume you've gone for Carvajal, or maybe you've gone for Lucas Vazquez.
No, I think Carvajal should start. Maybe if he isn't ready, maybe we can give him. Not if he isn't ready, if he can't play 90 minutes because of his international involvement, maybe we can take him off in the second half. But as of now, Carvajal should start.
Yeah, Carvajal had a great performance midweek. Who was it against? Was it against? I think it was against Georgia. I'm not completely sure.
I'm not too sure the game that's being played as well. I don't think I've seen it as well.
Yeah, it might have been against Greece actually. I think it was against Greece. Anyway, yeah, and the previous match as well, he played very well in. So I think he's going to be ready for this match. Maybe he's back to full fitness. I do think we should be cautious with Carvajal because he's a sick note. He's a walking sick note basically. So let's move on. Right centre back Militao. Just keep that consistency, I assume.
Yeah, you have to build on that centre back pair of Alaba and Militao. Maybe Ancelotti might go for Nacho because Militao was on international this year. I think he played 2 matches. If not 2, he played the latest one against Argentina and he started as well. So maybe he might go for Nacho to give Militao a bit of rest. Not too sure the last time Nacho played at centre back for us or played at all for us. So maybe he might go for Nacho. But maybe Militao and Alaba could be the logical option because they are the first choice centre back pair. And if it's one thing Ancelotti does is he will play his first 11, and if he's given the opportunity, so he might go for Nacho, could be an option. But Militao and Alaba might start. I wouldn't be surprised if Nacho plays.
Yeah, one thing that has to be said, he had a fantastic performance against Argentina where he pocketed Messi. So, not a bad performance, pocketing one of the greatest footballers of all time. So, left centre back, Alaba, I assume.
Yeah, Alaba, I would pick Alaba as well.
Yeah, good performance midweek as well for David Alaba against Israel. Austria, I think, did qualify because of their Nations League thing, the Nations League, their Nations League place. So hopefully he gets the World Cup. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. So left back, as we just been talking earlier about Ferland Mendy, I've gone for Miguel. I don't want to see Ferland Mendy in the starting 11 today. I don't want to see him in the starting 11 for the next couple of games. So who have you gone for left back?
Well, Miguel isn't in the squad at this time.
Is he not? Okay, So
I think maybe if Mendy isn't playing, it's Marcelo. But I
I
think
will
if
quickly
Ancelotti,
check.
I think if Ancelotti didn't have intention of using Mendy, he may not have included him. So I think Mendy might still get the nod on today. However, like you said, it's because of all the issues, maybe Marcelo should start. But I think if Mendy wasn't going to play, I think Miguel would have been in the squad, in my opinion. So I think Ancelotti has intentions of using him. So in that case, I'll have to say it's likely Mendy would start on today.
Yep, you are correct. There, Miguel is not in the 11 in the squad. So I will go for Marcelo instead. I will maintain that I don't think Mendy should be in the squad whatsoever. He might play because it's Carlo, and I don't think Carlo minds. But as we said earlier, I don't think the media outlets have got to it yet. So that might not affect them until the media outlets start to report on the stuff. So yeah, I think Mendy might play, but I don't want to see him play. To be totally honest, I'd rather see Marcelo, even if Marcelo might have a calamitous performance. So, defensive midfield, Who have you gone for?
I think maybe I think maybe we should give Casemiro, a bit of rest. Was he on international duty as well, Casemiro?
Yes, he was.
Did he play the full Argentina game? I'm not too sure if he played that entire match.
He played the game. He started the game. I'm not sure if he played the full 90 there.
Okay, well, I think maybe he should still start, in my opinion. Maybe he should be substituted if we actually kill off the game. But I think he should start. I think we should go for our best midfield, in my opinion, for this one. And then maybe have Camavinga and Valverde come on and have some extra energy. So I think Casemiro should start, in my opinion.
I've gone for Blanco in midfield because I personally feel like Casemiro should get some more rest before the midweek game against Sheriff. If he did play both Brazil's games, I don't want to see him play this game because I think you've got to keep him fresh for that Sheriff game. I mean, it's mad that we're talking about this about Sheriff, but they have to be considered a massive threat considering what happened at the Bernabeu last time we played them. So I've gone for Blanco. I think he could control the tempo of this match, and I think we've got to give him his games. And I think this is a perfect game for him to play because it's not a game where the midfield are going to outrun him. So I think he might have the quality to outplay this Granada midfield. So I think Blanco should play this game. So for your two midfielders, who have you gone for?
Toni Kroos will definitely start because he wasn't away on any international duty. I think Modric will as well. So I think it's going to be Toni and Luka in midfield because I mean Toni is fit, he's fresh, and with Luka he just came back. Maybe Luka may not be in the starting lineup, but I think that he might start and maybe come off in the second half.
I've gone for Camavinga and Modric because I personally think that Camavinga needs some games now. I think this is a perfect place to give him a game. So I'm gone for Camavinga. And in terms of Modric, I think he should come off later on in the game. Kroos can come on to freshen things up as well. Maybe Valverde gets his cameo, but I don't think it's a game for Kroos to start. I think we should rest him ahead of that Sheriff game. It's going to be crucial for qualification, that Sheriff game, actually, because if we beat Sheriff, I think it's pretty much guaranteed that we qualify. But if we get a bad result, we're going to have to depend on a result at Milan in the Bernabeu. So let's hope we beat Granada here without using Kroos, because I think we should rest him for that game.
I think that Ancelotti will not rest him because remember he isn't playing any international football at this time, so he had like a whole 2 weeks just to train alone. So I think he's gonna be fit to maybe play like 3 consecutive games.
Yeah, but I think he might just do it just to, maybe just to like prepare him for that game. Maybe just like make sure there's no fatigue coming into that game. That's what I would do personally. But I would definitely see it if I would understand why Carlo would play him in this match. Maybe Modric might get the rest, but I do think Camavinga should play this game 100%. So
yeah, I think Modric would be the player who should maybe start on the bench for now.
Okay, so I've gone for an interesting front three. Let's hear your front three first before we get into mine.
Okay, well, firstly, Hazard isn't available, so I can't pick Hazard because he wasn't included in the squad. I think he's injured again. I definitely have to say Vinicius and Benzema because it's difficult to drop Vinicius now. I think the team needs him. Chico just came back as well, so I think I would go for Vinicius, Benzema, and Asensio. Chico should be a second half substitute because he was injured. Can't just risk him at this time. So I would go with Vinicius, Benzema, and Asensio. I don't think we should drop Vinicius at this time. If the squad needs him as well, especially with Hazard out. Hazard did have a decent game. He completed a lot of dribbles on international duty. I think had he not been injured, I think I would have given him the start over Vinicius because I know that Vinicius needs some rest. Although he's fit and he plays a lot of matches, I don't think injury was ever a concern for him. However, I think we should be careful with him and maybe take him off in the second half if the game isn't dead at that time. So we have to wait and see, but I would love to see Vinicius get some rest. But I don't think we have a choice at this time to play him, so I think out of choice I have to pick Vinicius, then Benzema, and maybe Asensio, but maybe Carlo Ancelotti might try something smart and maybe try to strike with Vinicius alongside him. I'm not too sure, but I think I would just stick to Vinicius, Benzema, and Asensio.
Well, I've gone for quite a different front three. I've gone for Asensio on the left, rest Vinicius for that game against Sheriff because he played during the international break. We saw that delicious rainbow flick against Argentina. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It was really good. I've gone for Rodrigo on the right wing because I feel like just coming back from his injury, I think it could be useful for him to regain match sharpness down that right. Maybe come off later on in the match for maybe Lucas Vasquez. But up front, I've gone for Luka Jovic. This is probably very dangerous because we haven't seen Luka Jovic start a game in however long. But I do think that Jovic should start this game because I think we should give him a game, and I think resting Benzema for that game should be a priority. I think resting the front two, and if we aren't winning by the 60th minute, I do think bring on Vinicius. 70th minute, bring on Benzema. But I think that without Benzema, I think we should learn how to play without Benzema, and I think if Jovic can regain his form, we've got an excellent striker there as a backup. So I do think that Jovic should play this game. Maybe he can surprise everyone in putting in a fantastic performance. I don't think we require a goal from him, but I think he should play well. And I think in terms of Asensio, I want to see him do well down that left. I want to see how he does down that left because during his breakout few years at Real Madrid, he often played down the left. And I think he played very well there because he just counter-attacked down that side, and if he could either cross it or he could just hit one near post, and that would be it. I mean, I want to see that. I don't think the right wing is an excellent spot for Asensio, but I want to see how that does. And there's been rumours of a new contract extension for Asensio. I think he could be a useful squad player. So I want to see a good performance today from Asensio, as well as Jovic. So, anything else on the Granada game before we finish the podcast?
Yeah, I think of course, I would love to see Benzema and Vinicius get some rest. However, I think it's definitely too risky in my opinion. They are the two most important attackers in the squad, who contribute a lot to Madrid winning or dominating the game. I think, like you said, we need to rest them at some point in time. So I would have to agree with you and say I think Jovic, Asensio, and Rodrigo is a good lineup. However, if by the 60th minute we can't wait too long to make any adjustment, even at halftime, if the game isn't the way it should be, I think we should take aggressive action because yes, it's Granada. They are not having the best of seasons in terms of performance-wise. They lost their last game to Espanyol. I think their wingers, their wing backs, I should say, are there for the taking. That's why I'd like to see Vinicius play. I think they need to get some rest either at the start or the end of the game. I think personally from youngsters, they could Vinicius and Benzema. Well, at least Vinicius and maybe Jovic. I think I prefer Vinicius more than Benzema for this game because of the Granada fullbacks will be there for the taking. They're not that fast, especially Kini on that right side. So I think Vinicius can take advantage. If not, we should play Rodrigo on the left. Asensio on the other side if Vinicius isn't playing. But I think there isn't any harm in starting Jovic maybe for the first half. If it's not going right, then you can make changes. So it's not. I don't think it's going to be a difficult game, even if Benzema and Vinicius doesn't play. So personally, for me, I expect Madrid to maybe win 2-0 or 3-1. I think we might concede, unfortunately, but I think we will get the win on today.
Yeah, it's notable that Granada aren't really great in front of goal. So, I don't think we should be that concerned by Granada. But anyway, let's finish the podcast there. I mean, let's hope we can get the win against Granada, because we've got a big game. This is a big run coming up. You've got, Atleti, Sevilla, Real Sociedad, Inter Milan, Sheriff, all coming in a short of a space of time. This is probably the part of the season that will define our season. If we can beat most of those teams, I reckon we could have a good run at La Liga, a very good run indeed, and we'll be able to get out that Champions League group. So, that's it for this week of the Los Blancos podcast. Join us next week as we discuss some new topics, maybe some developments in the Romain Molina topic. But apart from that, thank you guys for listening. I hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.